One more time, Jim.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Farris. I'm a real estate GP based in San Francisco Bay Area. We focus on value add and opportunistic real estate opportunities, primarily in the multifamily, mixed use, retail, and industrial sectors. Currently raising a GP fund and also raising deal by deal equity for high net worth investors.
Great. Let's see, Clark.
Hey, Mark, thanks for having me. So Clark Hoover, I'm on the private markets team at LA City Employees Retirement System, also known as LACERS. We're a $25 billion public pension plan. I'm on the private markets team, work on private equity, venture, private credit, and private credit actually is my focus these days. Thanks.
This is to be our focus too, in many ways. Much we love venture. Are you going to be in Newport?
I wish I could, but it's hard to get the powers that be to bless that kind of trip, but we'll see.
Well, we were close to you in San Francisco. We'll be doing LA, San Diego, Phoenix soon. We're putting that in the works. Keep you posted.
Mark, do you have a month for that?
It's moving around. We're trying to anchor it around something really cool. And but then again, as soon as I get a month, all our months are crowded, but I don't know yet. I know you've got family out there.
Well, I was asking because all your months are crowded. So I was trying to figure
All our
out.
months are crowded. Yes, true. Well, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce your name correctly. Is it
لازم أكون
Hana?
موجودة في منهاتن لهذه المكالمات.
Lubna. Hana or Hana Hussein, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. Thanks, Mark. Hey, everyone. I'm Hana Hussein, so from Big Issue Invest. I manage it's called the Growth Impact Fund, so it's early stage VC as well, impact investing, social impact investing. It's a 25 million target fund, and we are focused on solving social inequalities in the UK and addressing underrepresented founders, so giving them more access to capital. We have a bit of a hybrid model, so we don't just do equity, we like to do quasi-equity and debt as well, just to keep things fresh. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I have got some previous experience in the impact VC space in the States as well, so curious to see and learn more in this session and meet everyone as well.
And we will be in London, as you know, maybe from Mariana, on the 17th, 18th, 19th of September. Like maybe.
Mark, you also know Nigel Kershaw, who's chairman of the issue. So no, he's not, but Hana is working closely with him. Okay,
great. Well, I'll turn to the news of the week here in a second. But who else is new? Who's iPhone 168?
Hi, I'm Adora. I'm in New York City. I just actually came back from London. I worked in venture. I'm a sometime angel, and right now I'm working. I'm doing work with some investors on mid-cap size portfolios focused on wellness, energy, and fintech.
But Adora, as much as I adore you, I'm sure you've never had that pun before.
Never heard that.
You did introduce yourself 1 or 2 weeks ago, so I'm trying to get the newbies. You're a re-newbie. Who else is new? John, on from trying to form a relationship with all these broker dealers.
Yeah, good morning. John Podlipchak, along with Brian Prohm and Ava Rogers. I'm with Pickwick Capital, and we focus on real estate and impact investing. We're out of Connecticut.
Now, John, you're not just saying that because you're in a real estate GP fund and some impact investing funds.
No, that's just part of our suite.
I know. Jason Sonner, it's been a while. Want to say hi? Jason?
Yeah, hey Mark, how are you? Hi everybody, I'm Jason Sonner. I'm an investor and also a consultant to a family office, and I'm out of New York City.
Great.
Looking forward to Newport, Mark.
Awesome. Anyone else new wants to say it? Well, my
Hey, Mark.
colleagues here, but we'll talk soon. What? Yeah.
No, this is Henry. I didn't really introduce myself earlier.
Yeah, go.
And I'm new. And
Please.
so my name is Henry Asklar, and I'm a consultant. I focus on transition of large energy systems, particularly in the intersection of renewable electricity and green molecules. I've spent a considerable amount of time in not only the US, but also Africa and Latin America.
You were the president of, was it AES in Brazil?
Yeah, I mean, I ran early days AES's efforts in Brazil and also in Africa. So, and I ran an independent power company in Africa with assets in a lot of the larger coastal cities or coastal countries, and across the board in technology, from solar to wind to gas turbines, engines, those sorts of things.
All right, now you're bringing out your muscles because you were just like, oh, I'm a consultant. Okay. Who else is new? Christine's got your hand up.
Yes, I'm new. I'm based in Egypt right now. I work with VC funds, and they help bring capital to founders who are investment ready. And I'm currently working remotely with the Canadian Venture Studio, and I'm raising its first fund.
Excellent. Well, let's connect after. Good. Let's see. I usually have 5 screens. I have just one. Anyone else new? You know who you are. If not,
Mark, I can introduce quickly.
sure.
Ram.
Go ahead, Ram.
I'm Ram. I'm an investor advisor and a go-to-market strategist, specialized in helping early-stage startups scale across borders, basically. So supporting global companies entering the US or North America, and also US-based ventures internationally. So bring deep expertise in different areas, business development, partnerships building in different verticals, including gas turbines, power generation, oil and gas, healthcare, health tech, and also spans around fundraising strategy and commercialization planning, go-to-market, focus on actually, building not just the fundraising. And I do have about 20 startups.
I got it. We got to keep it going. You do the whole gamut. I got it. And it's nice to meet you in Seattle. Anyone else new?
I can introduce myself also.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm Oleg Tumanov. I live in New York. I'm a serial tech entrepreneur. I am also an LP in a number of funds, like a private investor. And we're developing now a new AI company integrating AI sales agents in any marketing communication channels. That's what we're doing.
And I think that's it for now. If you didn't speak up, we'll hit you at the end. So just what we're doing today, change the screen for a moment. I think this will work. Maybe this. So today Stephen's going to talk in 15 minutes. He's going to take the bull case, basically, right, Stephen, for the U.S. equities market?
Well, it's where I'm leaning, but yes, I'm going to share both the bull and the optimist and the pessimist, but more focused on the optimist view.
Fair enough. And then we'll talk about AI. I've got some colleagues here. Actually, Nelson, they're part of the AI. We have some one new and some semi-new. Nelson, why don't you first?
AI, but just I'm the CEO of a bioinformatics company. We make a really small piece of equipment that detects diseases and fake pharma in the market, and we do use AI as a component for some of our analysis. But we've programmed with the military for 5th generation fighter program, big agriculture as well. So it's a really, really broad platform. We're based in Boston.
Harvard Technology, 30 million invested to date.
60.
60.
Yeah, 60 million's got it. Yeah.
We're gonna put another 15 in.
Correct.
Take it to the scaling.
Exactly.
And yeah, we met. I forgot your name already.
Robert.
Not Robert, your colleague.
Sudhir, Dr.
Sudhir,
Yeah.
yes. Just introduce yourself.
Thank you.
And you've got this, this is part of the longevity plan for 361. We'll hear about here.
Yeah, what Mark is holding there is probably the most advanced patented NSF for sports certified supplement that you can get for not just performance, but protection. It has microdose lithium in it. I'm a doctor, I'm a scientist and founder of that. And we're also doing a study at Karolinska Institute, which is in Stockholm, Sweden. That's where the Nobel Assembly meets. And we're looking at how microdose lithium changes multiple biomarkers of inflammation in a cohort of patients, but it's going to have applications beyond psychiatry into anything that leads to problems regarding aging, whether it's dementia, cancer, heart attacks and such, muscle loss. So that's the product, and we have a scientific study.
Can we use it today?
Absolutely.
Okay, this is a perk for being in person here in New York.
The Knicks used this last year. The Knicks used this last year. That's why they
You're like one of our clients said the Ohio State football team used our service and they won the championship. So I see.
Well, you know, the Jets are poised to.
Okay.
MLS, the WNBA, there's a lot of traction, and it's super Gatorade. It's the next level.
Okay. Microdosing lithium. You heard it here. We'll talk about that. Let me just switch gears and talk about Newport. We've got like 10 minutes left. That's a tiny set of pictures, but at 90 faces, I think there are about 9 or 10 who are not on there and 4 or 5 that might not make it. So I think we'll definitely be 100 plus at the end of the day. It's a classic 361 program with the allocator session. We'll kick off after lunch then at 1 o'clock with Where Do We See the World? So Barbara, who's with Penn State's endowment committee, and she's on CNBC once or twice a week. She's also our reigning champion of pickleball from the Florida events. So we have to have another event soon so we can unseat her. She was a two-sport All-American, if I got that right. Barbara, you'll correct me, lacrosse and field hockey. Stephen Burke, were you a All-American in anything?
No.
Okay. Neither was I.
What's Budweiser's title for drinking a lot of Budweiser? That might have been.
Well, I know this is being recorded, but I was in a band in law school and we had a song. We were called the Swank Rodeo Clowns. And one of our songs was, I'm a 6-pack of Budweiser, wiser than you.
There you go.
That was our, there you go. So Victoria Visotana, who's been advising, she was inside a very large or single family. Now she's sort of works with a number of families. We have a new tax regime. Greg will be on hand to talk about that a bit. And Senator, how she thinks she just testified before Congress. And then we have a panel on regions and assets. So Arij, whom we met in Riyadh, actually with one of your colleagues.
Yeah, yeah.
Parth, who does a lot in India, next gen out of Austin. Jack, will tell everybody you should invest in Ohio. Hana's going to be in sort of competing for dollars investments into Texas. I don't know if she's on this call, but she's going to talk about how Mississippi is a better place. And then we'll talk about start to move a bit towards asset classes, and Jan has done a lot in real estate credit for insurance. And then AI. We're going to talk about AI here later today. We have Yasmin, who we work closely with at Clever. And MJ was out west. He's got an AI, your agent for those who have addictions. So the 24/7, you've got your trusted AI to get you through things. John's been investing. He invested into, among other things, C10 Labs, which is at the AI at MIT, and Rafiq out of Chicago, sort of AI with a manufacturing angle. And Lubna is an OG. Lubna, are you on? I saw you earlier.
Yes, I'm here.
You want to say a word about yourself?
Uh, a word. No, I'm Lubna Dajani. My background's in systems design. I'm author of The Alternate. It's considered a very forward-thinking manifesto. It's more appreciated today than it was when I wrote it 11 years ago. I'm a impact investor and an advisor to several startups. I also contributed to several ethical standards from empathic AI to do a lot of work on human machine teaming, agentic safety and security. Blah blah blah.
That's, I know, those are big concepts and directions. So we'll have the benefit of your presence.
Thank you. Grateful to be there.
On the emerging industries, Kimberly Carney, we met her in Seattle. She's in the middle of a 10 million raise for her Series B for her company, The Wires, really sort of helping brands access sort of B2C, but it's also in the pets market, another interesting market. Carl, I was in Pittsburgh with him, spending a lot of time lately in the Midwest. They do tire recycling with special technology, but they have 150 scientists and 40 of them are Carnegie Mellon PhDs.
Yes, honey.
Bill. Hi, honey. Rena's here. Rena Meyer, you want to say hi? You're going to talk about what you're doing in the film industry.
Hello, everybody. So yes, Irina Meyer, and I am a technologist and I'm on media. So I have a media AI film development fund. And we figured out how to monetize film development at scale, and we're getting paid whether the film ever gets produced or not. So, and we're using AI by creating the commercialization models before the camera is being switched on. So we invest very small amount in each project, and we place it with studios and platforms. So in its essence, it's very similar to some of my real estate placement funds, but it's just based on the film development content. So yeah, that's us.
And then we'll have, and then Nelson's here. He talked a bit about himself. Talk about how the next 15 be allocated. He's really looking for also capital, but also partner to sell into the military, sell into pharma as he's doing and scaling. He's got a new partnership we'll talk about. And Britt, I don't know if Britt's on, but Britt doesn't need any money anymore. She's got this concept of a WeWork with she mean like the idea of WeWork, but basically where you work, but you also have daycare centers attached to it. And now it's just franchising, going gangbusters. So she's looking for franchisees or master franchisors by territory. And then I see Tammy, you're on with Wendy, and I know you'll be with
my girls, Wendy and Sophia and Tracy, and then I look forward to meeting Anita.
So Anita's here. She's on the Hollywood Square. She's right next to me. Want to say hi, Anita?
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet all of you. I am a founder of a new startup in education for social impact called Kinder. I look forward to everyone attending Newport and getting to know you.
Where did I see that? I feel like, Anita, I saw a segment. Oh, Steve Carell did the Northwestern his speech to the graduating class, and that was his theme, that we need to be kinder. It's actually he was dancing with the dean and everything.
I'll look for that.
So then we're going to do breakouts, which you'll see. We'll take a picture like this, and we're still populating this, but that'll be at the end of the day. And then we debrief, and then we have receptions, and there are other receptions because Opal's starting the next day. Looking ahead, we have the Hamptons, just so everybody knows, on the 10th, we're going to do an informal event Then there's the reception before the 1640 event. So we're teaming with them. If you want to, they have a process to apply. So if you want to go, let me know. I can put you in touch with those people. And then the next day we'll have a breakfast and lunch, and it would be nice to, sort of the season, right, to be in the Hamptons. And then we mentioned London earlier, but it's Singapore. But I have not been to Mumbai in the capacity of 361, so we're starting to mobilize for that with some partners. And then, before you know it, we're back here in New York. It's going to be beautiful. The leaves are going to be, orange and red and yellow, and you're all going to want to be here for our Impact Venture Summit. And then we go to Riyadh, where it will be not as hot as it is right now, kicking off the front end of the FII conference. And then we have our flagship conference. Then we're back for a longer period in Riyadh. And to your point, Stephen, where do we fit in? LA, San Diego, and Phoenix? I don't know is the answer, but we're trying.
Not October.
Well, look at Singapore, Mumbai, and New York and Riyadh.
Yeah.
Was that a Steve Burke joke?
No, I said it's not that month.
Oh, not October. Okay. Because if you said I had to do it, I would figure it out, but I don't want to figure that out. Okay. So that's let some more people in here. Any questions on anything we talked about so far? All the things that are coming up?
Jonathan Pirelli here. For those that aren't
Jonathan, yes. Speaking of October,
is it okay to mention?
Yeah. Go for it.
So Distilled Intelligence is a pitch event that we're hosting as alongside a summit. We plan to have between 400 and 500 people, the majority of which will be investors. We're vetting companies now. And it's October 14th through 16th at a resort, offsite, total focus. Check out distilledintelligence.com. And if it's okay, Mark, I'll put it in the chat. For those not traveling internationally for 361.
Well, it doesn't conflict, right? It's because it's between Mumbai and New York. So it's all good. Anyone else now that we're sort of at the top of the hour who is new to 361? Just want to get a quick introductions. I see it's been a while, perhaps. Maybe Mark Wyman, for example. You want to say hi? Introduce yourself. Asheville. Or did he just take himself off camera? He was like, oops, I should not have put myself on camera. Carl Silverberg.
Morning, everybody. It's 8 o'clock in the morning in Seattle.
Yeah, and I know you haven't had your 3 coffees yet, but any just a quick intro. Who's Carl?
Individual investor, currently with UNU.
You probably should go to Jonathan. You would be a lot of these. We met Jonathan. We had a lot of great angels in Seattle, thanks to Keith in part.
Yep, Keith was the connection.
Carl, give 10 seconds about your background, please, because it's fascinating. Please.
30 years domestic politics, and the last 15 were international presidential campaigns in 22 different countries: Central America, South America, Africa.
Oh, thank you, Keith, for forcing him to do that.
He's a fascinating guy. Get to know him.
Okay, beautiful. Hello, Depender.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Dependable Depender. I did see Evan. You want to say hello?
Hello.
Maybe a few more words than hello. Maybe the family that you represent.
Of course, I am representing the CS Family Office, and I am excited for this conference and see what it has to offer.
Maybe a few more words about CS.
Okay, we are a family office that are based in East Asia. However, our operations currently are in Northern America. We focus on deep tech and real estate.
Excellent. I guess you're not going to be, though, in Newport. We'll connect soon. Anyone else new? Carl, by the way. Sometimes when you have a tragedy, it helps to speak about it. And so I look at you, Carl. I had a car accident in Pittsburgh last week. And I don't know, Carl, you don't know this since it's all being recorded, but my car is a total loss. The insurance company. So I may need your help to take my belongings from the car because you're about 6 hours closer to it than me.
Yes.
But I'll come back to you. Your truck stop is probably 4 hours closer than I am.
Hey, for a price, I'll do anything.
Yes. Nothing new there. Okay, anyone else new before we turn to optimism? Guess we're all returnees then. All right, well. And that, well, let's preview, give a little preview, and I will put some pre-reading notes if you haven't seen it. Maybe what we're going to talk about is how AI is transforming certain verticals, and we're going to talk about business intelligence and decision intelligence. And maybe Radek, you'll say a few words. Sorry, and then we'll turn over to you, Stephen.
Okay. Yeah, with pleasure. So the thesis of our today's discussion is how the modern interfaces and solutions that were created or are being created as AI first solutions that help to make better decisions to business owners and to the boards or the top directors within various companies, how they change the way that the decisions are being made and how it influences the old school type of tools like business intelligence type tools or multiple dashboards or any other way that until now the decision makers have gathered the data to make a good decision based on data. Or even if these decisions previously were based on actual data or maybe more on intuition. So I highly recommend just reading more deeply about decision intelligence as a field because it highlights something really valuable.
Well, they're going to get into it in 30 minutes.
Yeah, we will discuss it. I think all of us.
Great.
Everyone makes the decisions, based on data or on intuition or somehow else.
Enlightened intuition. Okay, with that, unless anyone else is new, I do see one new name, Pete. Schnepp, you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, how you guys doing? Yeah, I'm new to the group. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a real estate investor and an entrepreneur. And I forget who it was that referred me to the group, but I logged on and this was the first Zoom invite, so I figured I'd check it out.
Okay. Well, maybe you'll come back. Let's hope. Welcome, and we'll be down in Phoenix. We were talking about how to squeeze that into our calendar, but we'll make it.
Awesome. Well, I can help set something up if you need somebody to help facilitate.
Well, I take people up on offers like that. So just be ready.
Yeah. Cool. Good stuff.
Okay. Good stuff. All right, everyone. We're blessed. This is the 275th in a row. You're not an All-American, Stephen, in sports, but you are in our book.
I made it somewhere. Thank you.
I'll stop sharing.
Let me see if after 275 I can figure out how to do this still. In some progress here. All right. So last week we talked about productivity and was the presentation, but when I got to the end, I was asked how could I be so positive about the US with all the problems in the world, and it led to a very lively discussion. And I wanted to circle back to that and really talk about why I am optimistic. And I think I'm kind of realistic about my optimism as opposed to the discussions that you hear a lot today are focused on the politics rather than on the economics of the world. And it's easy to get sidetracked, but I think Jamie Dimon summed up the state of the debate pretty well this morning when he was quoted as saying in his earnings release, the U.S. economy remained resilient in the quarter. The finalization of tax reform and potential deregulation are positives for the economic outlook. However, significant risks persist, including from tariffs and trade uncertainty, worsening geopolitical conditions, high fiscal deficits, and elevated asset prices. As always, we hope for the best and prepare for the worst. And I think that's really the way to think about the world we are in today. I want to just share my thoughts on why I'm optimistic, and then I'll give the pessimist view as well. I think Jamie summed up both sides pretty well, but for me, stepping back, I look at the US economy and it remains the world's leading economy. The global GDP is projected to end the year around 114 trillion, and we're at just shy of 30 trillion at the end of the first quarter and moving up. But I think what's really fascinating is how fast we've moved since 2000. When you think we went from 20 trillion to just shy of 30 trillion in five years, really sharp moves. And I think the US is the only leading major economy that is back to its pre-pandemic growth rate as well. On a per capita GDP basis, things continue to go up, and you can see we, again, have had big moves since 2008, since that financial crisis, big moves off the pandemic lows. I recognize the inequality issue that weighs on people's thinking here, but in aggregate, we've seen massive wealth creation. And just to one area on consumer net worth, we went from 42 trillion in 2000 to 175 trillion today. We were at 110 trillion in 2019. So we're now 65 trillion above that. So massive moves in a very short period of time, I think are really worth recognizing as the strength, and stepping back from the noise you hear on the news and from our politicians and look at the numbers. The numbers are telling a bit of a different story. At the same time, you have a very strong labor market with unemployment still quite strong, around 4.1% now. I think there are some troubling signs, but we're not there yet. And I think some of the concerns about immigration and other issues are real concerns, particularly for the families impacted. But from a macroeconomic perspective, they're not real issues yet. They are local issues for farmers and restaurants and hotels. And I don't want to discount the pain and the problems being felt there, but we have a very strong labor market, which actually is strong for wages as well, because some of these troubling signs in the immigration issues actually put wage pressures on the system.
Oh, you can't.
At the same time, we saw the inflation number today, and at 2.7%. Inflation is trending towards target, but it is slow, and we do have some issues that are throwing it off right now, mainly the tariff issues and understanding what the impact of the tariff issues are going to be. But a 2.7% inflation rate is not a bad number, and it is coming back down to levels that I think will be better for us to move forward. But I don't think the Fed needs to rush to lower rates in this environment, because I think if they move too fast, it'll spur inflation. And just remember, last year when they cut rates in September, that was 100 basis points of cuts, and rates are almost 100 basis points higher on the 10-year now. So the idea of cutting rates to solve the inflation problem and to move the economy, I don't think is the right answer. I think if we cut too aggressively too soon, it will create more inflation than we can handle. That said, for all the challenges that companies have been hit with, from the pandemic, from the great financial crisis forward, look at where corporate profits after tax have moved. You know, you look back in 2009, we were down around $800 billion, and now we're closing in on $3.7 trillion today. After tax profits, these are massive numbers. And just look at the growth from 2020 of 2 trillion almost doubling in that period. So this has been an exceptionally strong period for US corporate profits to move up, given a very favorable background of low interest rates and a somewhat positive tax regime, but not a positive regulatory environment. And I think if we move some of the regulatory obstacles, you can see corporate profits continue to rise, even with some of the headwinds from tariff pressures. I think the other issue that's weighed on people is the dollar's reserve currency status. And we have had a big decline in the dollar, but I think that's more a reflection of the weakness that's been felt elsewhere in the world for the last mainly better part of a decade. And now that you're starting to see strength, particularly out of Europe with their stimulus programs being announced, a weakening of the dollar is not unusual, but we're still on a going back 20 years, we're still at a very elevated levels, even with the pullback. And I think one of the things that you have to keep in mind is this is a benefit for big business and big corporations in the US, particularly the multinationals. So I think this is a positive that is, but there's a lot of focus on the dollar and losing its reserve currency status. I don't see that happening. I don't see a viable competitor, but we are sitting in a pretty strong position, even with this pullback. And I'm not as confident in the rest of the world as replacing the dollar. And in fact, next week, I want to talk about Germany and China, two of the leading nations, and some of the challenges they have, as well as Japan, and why I think the reserve currency status will hold for a number of reasons. Another thing that I think is greatly underappreciated is the size and scale and depth of our capital market system. And just looking at globally traded equities at the end of last year were 123 trillion. The US is 60 trillion of that, massively outsizing other nations and moving up from 42% in 23 to 49% last year or beginning of this year. But it's not just the equities, it's the bond markets. Out of the 133 trillion of global bonds, you can see the scale of the US relative to China and Japan, our next two competitors, and it's not even close. It's 51 trillion versus 3 trillion or 20 trillion for China, or 21 trillion for China, and 11 trillion for Japan. Given some of the financial challenges of those nations, I don't see the US getting knocked out anytime soon. And I would also keep in mind some of the dollar weakness is really driven by the European strength, because in the dollar index, the euro is a big percentage of that. And the hope of Europe getting its act together on fiscal stimulus is a big driver of the change. Now they have to translate it into real action. And I think that's where some of the challenges are going to exist.
Steven.
Yep.
Can you hear me? You don't happen to know who the holders are of the China bonds?
I don't have that handy, Mark. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's inside, though. And that's really the issue. And it's not just, this is total debt. It's not just government debt. Keep in mind. So what's on the pessimist minds? It's obviously debt and deficits, but I think more than anything, it's the unconventional politics and the political divisiveness we're seeing both domestically and globally today. And I think that's really what's weighing on people's minds. The president has come with a playbook that was even different than his first administration's playbook, much more aggressive, much more actionable for him without some of the blockades that he felt before from other countries or or from Congress. I think this is really the big issue. I think the other is different than his first administration is, I think everyone acknowledges that China's rise as a viable competitor to the US is real, but they have their challenges as well. I think the other concern, and I think this is really what is tearing at a lot of the fabric for a lot of people who relied on the post-World War II norms, is our trust in institutions and in the rule of law is being challenged, I think, unlike any time we've seen in the last 70 years. And I think this is really what's weighing on people and their mindset. obviously housing around the world is a big issue. And just to put it in perspective, because there's two sides to the housing issue, I saw another challenge with it today, but you have obviously housing in China is a problem. You have housing in the US, supply in the US and Canada is a problem. But in Japan, they have a different problem. Because of their demographic issues, they're starting to see housing as not a supply issue, but going to be a demand issue. Will they have enough people for the housing? So that's another challenge that's out there. Inequality is a big thing that weighs on people. And I guess it goes to the immigration issue as well. And the sense of meanness that's going on around the world, particularly in the US, towards immigrants is, I think, weighing on people. But the inequality issue is a theme we've had, Mark, for the last several years. And to me, it's been three levels of inequality. Income inequality gets the most focus, but I think what we're seeing in the world today is massive country inequality and massive company inequality. And I think that's playing out in the markets, and it's really going to weigh on investment decisions going forward. And where you put your money is going to be as important as which asset class you're putting it to in the coming period. And I think the last big issue is the changing terms of trade, which are changing by the day. So in closing, I just say that we've experienced really high levels of economic uncertainty, which are slowly coming down. Although we then turn around and have the president announce that he didn't get the 90 deals done in 90 days. So he's going to come up with new deals or new tariffs, or we'll see where we go. But things could be on the table that might be off the table. He's going back and forth. He prefers to have that level of uncertainty persist. It gives him more control, gives him more leverage. But uncertainty is coming down. I think productivity is going to be key. We talked about that last week. That is a strength of the US. It's also a strength of China. But I think one of the things that undermines China's strength there is the price discipline of companies is lacking. The government is trying to get companies to not undercut each other to a race to the bottom where there's no profits for the businesses when they're left. So I think getting productivity right is going to be a key issue, and I think the US has a major leg up there. The market has continued to broaden out, but not as broad as everyone thought. And at the beginning of the year, I was promoting that don't run away from the FANGs as much as everyone's talking about, because they have the ability to do things that other companies don't. And you're seeing that with Meta, you're seeing that with these the FANGs continuing to do quite well. I think Fed independence is going to be paramount topic of discussion for the next couple months, certainly in this quarter. The president keeps waffling on he wants Powell out right away, but he's not going to force him out. But now they're trying to force him out through other means. I think the deficits, bond yields, and Fed independence will be paramount, but also keep an eye on other government bonds around the world, particularly Germany and Japan, where rates are rising at a time that they really can't afford to have them moving up as aggressively as they are. I think the innovation continues, and that's what drives me. A big part of my optimism is not only are we innovating in the US, but we're creating new businesses which will help deal with some of the issues that are being created by the challenges that exist out there through immigration reform, through the changes that are going on in terms of labor markets and AI taking jobs. But in this environment, I think we'll finish the year at a higher level than we are today in the US equity markets. I think that to get there, we're going to focus on the areas of required spending that's going to offer the greatest clarity for investors to invest. And I would not chase the big themes. I would take advantage of the opportunities, because I think we're due for some level of consolidation or pullback before we move forward. So Mark, I'm going to stop there and open it up for discussion.
Thanks, Stephen. So Adam, I have questions for you as well about what Trump was saying about Ukraine, but go with your question.
Yes, Stephen, thank you very much for the presentation. I share your optimism on the economy. I have a question and a comment. The comment is, I think last week's discussion revolved more around who's benefiting from the US economy, which goes to the inequity. My question is about the bond market. If you can go back to that graph, is that a reflection of bond issues by corporates, US and international, or only US? Issuers?
That was global corporate bond issuance of corporates and mortgage backs, asset backs, it's all bonds. Globally.
And for the US, those are US domestic?
US domestic corporates, governments, agencies, the whole mortgages, the whole like.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Adam, just since you're there, any quick comments on how you see Trump towards Ukraine and Russia, I should say?
Yeah, let's wait and see if he delivers. The idea of 50 days before the tariffs, two questions about that. By the time 50 days, then the summer offensive is over. So that gives Putin plenty of time to kill and destroy more. The other issue is, these tariffs of 100%, secondary tariffs, those are tariffs on China and India, really. So is that really going to work? I don't know. Russia's been tariffed to the hilt. It's the most tariffed, or not tariff, I'm sorry, sanctioned country in the world now.
I think that was the intent, whether it works out, is that to put pressure on those countries. Who else? Someone had their hand up a moment ago.
Michael Hammer.
Michael.
I was just going to comment to what Adam was talking about with the tariffs. I just don't see them being very effective against Russia.
Okay.
They have to be enforced. The tariffs have to be enforced.
Let's keep it going, Charles.
Yeah, good morning. So I just to the list that Stephen put up, just to talk about countering China here, it doesn't seem like there is, with exception of a cataclysmic event, that we can really stop China's rise in accordance with what you just sort of, outlined here. So what do we do? Right? It's sort of, I understand from an investment perspective, yeah, we can pivot money around markets, but on a practical level, what are your suggestions from a policy perspective on what as the US should do here?
To counter China?
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know that we can counter China, right? They have good tech. They're going to develop their technologies. They showed what they could do this year in certain ways. We started something we weren't prepared for. We started a trade war and weren't protected on rare earths, and we did it wrong. I think I said Sun Tzu would not have given us a grade A on being prepared for a war when we weren't prepared for it and starting it. What do we do now? I think what you're saying Trump trying to do is give China enough to keep them going, keep us going, so that they can buy time. I don't think we're going to negate China. I don't. I think we're going to. I think we either have to decide strategically to bifurcate the global system, or we have to partner with China, and you have to make a choice on that. I think we're trying to do both, and I don't think doing both will work.
So you're saying 1917 scenario is out of the question in China?
1917, what happened in Russia? Or what happened in...
Exactly.
I don't know.
That would have to come from their elites.
I think she's in pretty, it's interesting. On one hand, you think he's in good standing, and on another, you're not sure. So you just don't know. It's too black box. Mark, I'd refer to Simon Littlewood or somebody like that who would know.
Maybe we should bring some of those people in for next week if you're going to talk about China.
Yep.
So I have a question, if I may.
Yep.
So thanks so much for a really interesting presentation. And I had a question, and that is the economic and corporate growth rates that you mentioned at the outset are very impressive. and I think are the strongest in the world in the US. Having said that, how much of that is, or how do we contextualize that from how much of that is being driven by an allocation from the government to the private sector in the form of public policy, and how much of that is, a direct kind of transfer payment, if you will, from the government to the private sector. And the issue is, is it just increasing our debt, and are we growing at the expense of increasing our debt? I know that's not the whole issue, but if you could contextualize, it'd be great.
I think I think that's a great question, and it's very complicated. I would actually answer it a little differently. I think what we're experiencing right now is a transition from the government being overly involved in the economy, putting too much money into it and crowding out private spending and private investment, to where and you saw that throughout the investing space, where anything looked like a good deal and we were throwing money at all this stuff, and a lot of stuff worked that never should have, because we had zero interest rates and there was a lot of government support. I think what we're going to see over the next couple of years is the productivity increase, because the government's getting out of the way, and the private sector is going to be driving the dollars capital spend more effectively, and they're going to the private sector gets much better return on their investments. So I think it's the zero interest rates helped give companies free capital to make investments and grow. I think a lot of companies did it. I think some companies did it exceptionally well, and other companies are going to get left with a big level of debt without much growth to show for it. But I think your point about the government getting out of the way or moving to the side and the private sector stepping up, I think is good for the economy and will be good for productivity and good for the system.
Thank you.
I don't know if that answered your question the way you were looking, but it's kind of my take.
And then Rob and Adora.
Hi. Hello?
Yep.
Hi. Funny, Stephen. I'm actually in Germany at the airport. Question on the cost of borrowing, which has risen dramatically. Roughly 40% of the entire 36 trillion US national debt. We've got to roll it over relatively soon. What does that mean? Meaning that the trillions of dollars originally issued at the low rates, we've got to refinance that at higher costs, unless something changes. So implications, it's always the same thing, beating a drum, but what are the implications of that? And how does that roll out, play out vis-a-vis the bond market that you've just discussed?
I think the bond market will start to put discipline on the government where they haven't had it before. I think the administration has made some efforts to lower costs, but then they took some steps to lower the deficit, and they took steps to increase it. I think DC generally plays games around that, but I think the US economy, if you get the productivity improvements that I expect will come when government gets out of the way and the private sector has to get return on their capital, I think that's where you start to see the improvements, where getting GDP growth back on track will drive us forward. So that's where I see it going.
But just as a place marker, that allusion to productivity is where we're going to talk about in a moment with AI decision making. But you've had your hands up, Rob, Adora, and Bill. If you could make them quick, let's go for it.
Sure. Thanks, Steve. I recall you're in New York and Manhattan in visits with 361 and Mark. Last week, the Mandani candidate for mayor came up. I was just curious. I think since then, looks like Cuomo and Adams are going to be running as independents. Just objectively, do you have any prediction of how that plays out? And it's just interesting that a lot of these billionaires are backing sort of independent candidates here.
I'm curious to see which one has the most support of Adams or Cuomo, who they think who they put to run, because I don't think they can run both and have it and win. So I think that'll be interesting to see how they decide who the wealthy wants to back to stop Madani.
We'll bring each on to 361, Robin. We'll have it out.
Okay.
Adora?
Just really quickly to go back to China and India. I've been spending a lot of time in Europe recently, and last week I had dinner with a member of parliament and also a banker. And they see this Trump pursuit of the tariff policy as an opportunity, not only for individual countries, but also for the EU and the AU to be making deals with China and India. What do you say to that?
I think that's what they should be trying to do. I'm not sure that China and the US will allow them to get the deals they're looking for. I think they're between a rock and a hard place with China, because China's going to keep dumping their manufacturing all over the world, and that's going to crush Europe. So I'm not sure how Europe has that kind of relationship that works with them, with China, particularly for Germany and the automakers. I think they need them in other areas, though. So I think that's the thing that we're not factoring in on US-China relations or US-Europe relations or Europe-China relations, is we actually all need each other. Nobody is set up right now to be completely autonomous. And that creates the problem.
So is there some nuance in there for leverage that maybe didn't exist before, like say between the EU and the African Union, because you didn't mention the African Union, or because I mean the Chinese and the African, the various African countries, those relationships have really matured in ways that didn't exist today, say 10, 15, 20 years ago. So
yeah, and China's in pretty deep there, right?
Yeah. I think that's putting it mildly, right? In terms
of I think I'm curious to see if China makes the same mistakes the US made when we used to help people out. I think that the definition of help from the US and China people should look at what the definition is of that after we're 10 years after we're gone. It usually isn't help.
We'll come back to China next week. Bill?
Right, yeah. Thanks, Stephen. Just quick question for you for next week is sort of a holistic look at China's economic situation, which is not terribly good, and their ability to continue to expand their military aggression out there, whether or not they'd be able to do that. So I'll put that in the suggestion box. And the question for this week is that I noticed that earnings surprise is about on track as it was for last year, 7-8%, which sort of underscores the earnings growth and the strength of that so far. And do you think that that's going to be continuing to be a meaningful driver for the equity markets for the rest of the year?
Well, I think you have to keep in mind that in the second quarter, we took earnings down because of the problems that were going on. So we should be beating earnings when you reset them at the beginning of the quarter because there was news. So I think the driver is, I think we will have stronger earnings going forward. I think clarity will help on policy. I think that businesses will start to spend more. And I also think that we had rate cuts of 1% a year ago. And it does take time for those rate cuts to work through the system. And there are some benefits that will come from that as well. So I do think all those things lead us to a more favorable outlook for equities.
We need to transition here. But Bill, you don't have to wait until next Tuesday. You can come to Newport for this discussion. Will happen we'll have a holistic discussion, the kind of which you would be a perfect participant. I know you want to be there.
Yeah,
but
virtually at the very least.
We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, just to remind some people that came late, we do have a great event on Sunday. It starts at 11 for lunch for those that are allocators and carries on today. We have brought some special guests and we have another. Well, what's your name?
I'm Ian Shapolsky.
Oh, Ian, okay. And who else is new? Swaraj. Just we have some new people here that are we're going to talk about AI as it relates to business intelligence and decision intelligence, and we'll have a very interactive discussion. Are we ready to transition? You ready to present? I'll give you a few minutes.
To present, we have assumed that this would be a discussion, not a presentation.
At the end,
Hey, don't assume anything with Mark.
at the end, you're gonna present.
Okay, yeah, like
But we'll have a discussion, but then in that spirit, maybe Anita, your hand was up, so I'll let you ask and then we'll transition over here.
Yeah, thank you. My question is, so far, I know there are, some downsides to Trump's new policy making apparatus. What do you think is actually spot on and worked well so far, which was, I think, needed for United States to maintain their competitiveness vis-a-vis China or emerging technology landscape and so on and so forth? Would love to hear your thoughts.
I think of his policy agendas programs that I think are helpful right out of the blocks. I do think securing the border, it was important. I think we were one of the few countries in the world that didn't have secured borders. I think on the other side of that, I would be less aggressive on deportation other than criminals. I think that's hurting businesses. I think the deregulation issue, if we get it right, is a big opportunity. I think we put too much regulation on. We're starting to hold businesses back and have bad regulations as opposed to good ones. I think that's an issue. I think having clarity on taxes for businesses by making the tax cuts permanent, I think is helpful. I think our rates are too low for taxes. That's a little bit of a contrarian view for a business owner, but I think they're too low for what our spending needs are as a country. But I think that will help. I think the bringing back business to the U.S. and dealing with some of the trade inequalities makes sense. I'm not sure the tone or the heavy-handedness is an approach I would take, but I think if you step back, a lot of the things he's doing are not bad policy. I think the way it's done, it feels like bad policy, and I think it's off-putting with the tone. But I think the immigration, I think the deregulation, I think the taxes and the tariffs are things that'll drive the economy forward in the shorter term.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You look like my daughter with the two fingers. She's always got the two fingers on her picture. Who's CPU to you?
It's Clement.
Okay.
Stephen, thank you for everything. I really appreciate your presentation today, but I have a couple of questions. But the first one is, when you say securing the border, what exactly does that mean? Are we currently securing the border?
Securing the border means you actually have to come through with, a legal immigration, whether it's visiting or permanent stay. You come through customs, not crossing the borders. So I think we're illegally. So I think we are securing the borders that way, and that we can protect our population from.
I think that's the question I'm asking. Are we actually doing that, or are we just putting military and police in the border? I thought everything's supposed to be based on policy, because to make policy, that's supposed to be Senate and the Congress coming up with a policy, with a bill, then put into law, and then use that to secure the border instead of just putting military at the border. That's my understanding of securing the border. Because my knowledge right now, the strategy that we're using right now will fall apart whenever the next government comes in. Whereas we can create a sustainable strategy that will last by coming up with a reasonable bill that will secure that border permanently.
I'm not clear, because the policies that were in place were policies that people shouldn't be crossing the border illegally. Border crossings are down 93% since the start of the year. So I do think there is actual meat towards securing it. And if the next administration would allow the flow to come back again, that would be an administrative failure, not that would be a policy failure on the new administration, in my view. I'm not against people coming to the U.S. I'm actually in favor of increasing immigration massively in the U.S. But I am in favor of coming through in a legal way, not in an illegal way. So I'm not clear.
We need to transition to artificial intelligence.
Then my second question is on the tariff. You mentioned that the tariff is going to make generate profit on a short term, and what I'm trying to understand in the tariff, I think my question now is it the right process that we're following on the tariff? Because for us to put tariff on certain things like chips and so on, we're supposed to be able to manufacture it here in the United States or have that resources here in the United States before we put tariff. But the tariff right now is causing most of our manufacturers or most of our companies to lose money. So do you think the current strategy on tariff is it the right way to the right approach, or there should be a different approach?
I think elements of what he's doing are not bad. I think it's gone too far and too mean-spirited. So I'll stop there, Mark.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And soon, by the way, speaking of artificial intelligence, you'll have the ability to log in and ask that question and get Stephen Burke's agent to answer that for him, because he's already talked about this for I don't know how many, probably 25 of the 275 briefings. We've talked about immigration and tariffs and all these questions. Michael, I do need to switch over, so I love you, but we're gonna move over to AI. I'm gonna let Radek here, who helped us actually do a deep dive about 2 years ago on the subject of AI. You're going to frame
1.5 years ago, yeah. But yes, we did some. Yeah, but that you remember. With so many things going on, yeah, all the time.
So help us frame this discussion. We all have AIs in our world. I mean, some more than others. And I mean, we're all learning. We probably should have a practical training program. You're going to hit somewhat practical and somewhat theoretical.
Yeah. So to make it easy to enter the topic, I just share the screen.
Yeah, I'll take my screen out. You want to put your camera on?
Does it? Yeah, okay. So this is a part of the pre-read that we with Mark have prepared to share to all of us. And I would like to underline that the decision intelligence is like in a discipline that can be studied, and there are many ways that the decisions can be made. There are some nice articles and from Harvard, for instance, of different types of decision and how we as a human make them. And right now we have the situation that when it comes to business, usually how the owners and the managers make their decisions.
Wow, you're going to be up in Newport.
Is either by intuition or because I know, or because someone tells them some basic stuff or provides the reports, or they have dashboards. So this is how it was until now. And with the possibilities that AI give us, especially the large language models, which allow us to simply talk with information, discuss the information with some artificial intelligence, it makes the analysis even easier. And supposedly the decisions that we are making as a business owners or managers should be much better. Okay, so I will give 2 real-life examples, okay, based on our experience. So first would be,
and then I think this is set expectations. Then I'm gonna call on a few of you gurus out there to comment on either this or how you're seeing it in the business intelligence, decision intelligence sphere.
Yeah. So the 2 examples I would like to real life examples that I would like to share from our experience with customers. First is a company that produces medicines, and they hire over 250 salespeople that reach out to the doctors and have meetings with them and ask them to prescribe the medicines from this pharmaceutical company. And right now, they have multiple systems, applications. The data has until now was really silos within applications and databases. And when the owner needed to have the information about the effectiveness of his sales team, which is a core area of his business, well, he had to browse through so many things and all the information was outdated. And right now, what he does is just ask the AI, which 10% of my salespeople are least effective? He receives the answer straight away. And then he asks, okay, what can I do to improve them? And because all his data is connected to such AIs, he receives the contextual answer based on his internal information crossed with some external information. For instance, that in autumn, there are more sickness connected with fraud, for instance. Yeah. So there is an external data connected with internal data. So which medicines would be more popular in which time of the year. So all this connected, all this context given to the owner or the manager the moment he or she asks it. And the timeline is also important because this answer that AI provides is based on the information from right now, not from the past. And now I move to the second example. I'm not sure that like everyone knows that when a company builds a warehouse, like a big warehouse for their needs, this company uses like specialized other business that helps them secure the place and find the right place to build this warehouse. And the decision process of choosing the location and actually signing the contracts to build this warehouse is roughly around 12 months. But when they were gathering the data about, for instance, traffic, roads going to be built, and airports nearby, and possible workforce, labor, it was all gathered at the beginning of this analysis. So when they do make the decision after 12 months, the data that they have made this decision is already obsolete. So, and this gap, this time gap, can be bridged with AI. So this is like the background of examples.
I think when I think of you, there's Palantir.
Yeah.
What is a typical Palantir project?
This is mission critical decision intelligence in military or in government. So for instance, they did British NHS. So they have the decision intelligence AI which help to choose whom to kill.
There are certain law firms, it's a $5 million minimum, or they don't take on the mandate. What's a Palantir mandate size?
Like 100 million?
100 million.
Around entry level of the projects, and it takes like 3 years to deploy their platform. And the challenge with them, I would say that this is a black box internally. So they do not
share. Who are the global equivalents of Palantir? Does Korea have a Palantir?
No.
Does Germany have a Palantir?
No. We are striving to reach this.
And then how do you present your group relative to Palantir?
So we are like white and transparent and glass box AI.
The white knight?
Yeah, exactly. So we show the way the AI reasons with data and helps to make this decision. So all the people that work on it just can discuss with AI why this decision, what did you recommend, what will be the outcomes, did you take everything into consideration? Or for instance, like the challenge is that AIs are not really so intelligent as we may think, because when you explain the problems with efficiency of my salespeople, what does it mean for me?
Call on a few people to
add. Yeah, let's open it.
Lucia, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just joined.
It's a little unfair, but you're with Accenture.
Yes. And
Does Accenture-
Palantir is a partner of ours.
Okay, well, you can't talk, I'm not saying you have to talk to any partners,
Yeah.
but what, how do we see, I'm just curious about this landscape of business intelligence. Who do we turn to if it's not the White Knights, or Palantir, or I guess it's Accenture? What are people doing in business intelligence of any size? Does anyone have I don't know, and I don't think ARS is a candidate, but maybe some of you have business. Sorry?
Yeah, are you saying like industry specific? Are you looking for size, like market cap of what specifically are you asking about in terms of size of business, or just the approach that we're seeing in businesses?
I think I have two questions. One is, who are the players? And does anyone have experience in helping us all understand it and navigating it?
So I think there's several parts to answering that question. In general, a large language model and AI is built on top of a lot of data. What you'll realize is that in general, with many businesses, they'll say AI, but a lot of their data structure is not necessarily in the place to be leveraging so much of AI where it needs to be in businesses. What we see is a lot of people are using it for optimization, and everybody's rushing to agents, right? And they're doing that to probably optimize places where they want to cut some labor, or they want to probably reduce any redundancies. But no one, and everybody's trying to have their own internal LLM models to a degree. So very, very sophisticated financial firms will have that, but to the degree where it's for financial planning and financial perspective. But your normal and average person and anyone in between isn't there yet. So I can say that from a financial services perspective. And then obviously government and has their own large language models that are proprietary and for defense reasons. And they obviously work with Palantir, and they also work with Accenture. So.
Okay. Ron, you want to comment on this?
Yes, thanks, Mark. And Lucia, it's good to hear your voice. I knew her from South Africa and DC.
Oh my God, hi.
Yeah. But Mark, your question on Germany and South Korea, whether they have their own either Palantir or Anduril or so, that was a little bit of an interesting question, but also I think Palantir would rather have them as customers if they're friendly to the US and friendly US defense. So I was just curious as to, were you posing it as that there's lack of capital, entrepreneurial structure to do a counterpart in those countries, or why wouldn't they just be target customers of a Palantir? That's my question to you, Mark, or the speaker.
I'm really, I'm being partly provocative, and also trying to frame it so I understand the top tier and who are in the top tier. They don't have to be country specific, and then what are we all doing in this space? Are we struggling, learning and struggling and being excited, and learning and struggling, being excited about these iterations? And we're about to do something you're going to see in Newport, the new iteration from our side. That's really where I was coming from. And then we're not talking about an app. Well, I guess we want to actually define what should our community be doing in terms of a series of these events that are both helpful on the theory and infrastructure, but also practical. So this is like a kickoff, a new kickoff of this series of discussions, I guess, is the.
I think there's a few things. I think there's the cyber side and the security side, like deep fakes, addressing those issues, maybe some security aspects. But then there's also the aspect of how it also gets used for optimizations and models. And there's also functionality that now allows you to speed up system development lifecycle. And enhancing businesses. So I think there's different aspects of how you're utilizing AI and the benefits of it. And then the precautions, obviously, of like your data and your PII. So I think there's just different aspects and where you want to go with it.
Lucia, just watch out. You might be partnering with 361 pretty quickly.
Okay, happy to do that.
And Andrew, Radek.
Hey, Mark. Hey, everyone. happy to be here as usual. Looking forward to Newport this weekend. I had to step out for a minute, so I missed the first part of the AI productivity discussion. And so if I'm being repetitive for other people, please forgive me. I'm a natural skeptic of anything that's big data, AI, silver bullet solutions, but now I find myself and my firm involved in 3 different projects where AI is going to make a huge difference. Number one is we are working with an outside vendor to streamline all of our alternative investing processes, subscription documents, warehousing of documents. There is a provider, and I can't go into a sales pitch right now, that has bots that then will log into every single GP's website, pull the data, read the data, and then provide a P&L across a portfolio of vaults, and then have a document vault involved. And all of that is done on an automated basis, which would save us and my firm thousands of hours a year. If we did that, we're gonna
partner with you too, Andrew.
We're also working with 2 different tech providers right now. We're trying to determine one versus the other, where they have massive amounts of financial data, and we're able to do on the fly portfolio asset allocation changes. So you can do literally immediate, like, what if I don't high yield from February to May, as opposed to owning an overweight in mortgages, for example. And you can run all of these on the fly portfolio optimization tools down to the security level. That couldn't be done without AI. And now we're working on a project for a handful of family offices where we're doing a deep dive into a specific industry where we have a universe of 500 publicly traded companies globally. And I have a call tomorrow with an AI provider that will suck in all of that data and then right size it financially in balance sheets and income statements, so that you can do proper analytics. That's a project that would have taken months, and they purport that they can do it in hours. So that's my experience on that front. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm gonna pick your brain in Newport for sure. Keith, I know you're using AI and to help the world.
Yeah, I've actually, interestingly enough, I've been working in AI since 1994 at IBM, dabbling off and on. But I think one of the really important things that we need to understand is that it's not all about generative AI. I mean, we've been using visual analytics for years to analyze satellite images and drone images and other data. There's opportunity to do predictive analytics. And I think one of the things the 361 firm needs to think about is how do you break down the various areas of AI so we actually can narrow into items of focus and interest for the various parts of the group.
All right, you're on the committee too, Keith.
All right, thank you.
The great thing is I don't have to take notes because AI is doing this for it. I can restructure it and give you 5 sets of notes. Bill.
Yeah, no, just to piggyback on Keith's comments, I think that it's really important to differentiate between the large language model development and small language model development. Similarly, you've got symbolic versus non-symbolic tools that go into that. Primarily in large language model, you have non-symbolic. In the small language model, you have symbolic, which is really kind of how to think about that is that the large data sets are very necessary for the large language models because they're trying to analyze literally what word comes next in the sentence. Whereas in the small language models, they're actually trying to take processes and logic and program that into some sort of a solution algorithm that's there. So, and there's a lot of work that is successfully being done in the small model space. I'm advising a VC firm in that space, and there's tons of solutions that are happening. A lot of really interesting stuff. Companies are getting quick revenue because the product market fit is a lot more binary than it is with SaaS companies. So either either you do well or you don't. And those that are doing well are generating revenue, quite nicely right off the bat. And the other interesting thing, sort of to Andrew's points, is that the firm that I'm advising is cannibalizing all the stuff that their portfolio companies are working on, and they're building out their own internal systems. Literally, some of their staff is like really sharp, as you can imagine, in this space, and so they're building out their own homegrown systems, not even getting stuff off the shelf for this decision report, for query, and being able to better manage all the data that they have available to them. So quite a lot going on.
Still digesting all this. Okay, Zarin. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, I'm also working on a couple of projects with AI, and I was interested about this, the one mentioned with the marketing. So I'm working on a project called where we can identify in a company organization which sales channels, which marketing channels or agents are more profitable, and where to direct the investments or the resources of the company. And as I was working with this project, I also started to put on my valuation cap. And basically, if somebody can increase the cash flows, which is the numerator of the equation, and kind of de-risk by getting more data and more insight into their own organization, kind of a bit lowering the discount factor in the denominator, they can achieve a higher valuation. And when you're reinvesting in your business, if you can reinvest with much more efficiency, your returns will be higher. So I think if done successfully, that could potentially increase the valuations of firms, or could be added. I don't know if what anyone else thinks about that. Or
one of the things, Aaron, is for our business, it's scalability. Much of what we do is idiosyncratic from every day, and therefore having these AI tools will allow us to scale. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to. Our growth rate would be capped, and it would be dependent on more human labor inputs in order to get more output. So we look at it from a growth, also from an efficiency perspective, but it's a scalable perspective as well.
Thank you.
We haven't talked about ethics yet, but I'm sure we'll come up onto that. Sorry, sir. Sorry. I forget your name, CPUTU. I forgot.
Oh, sorry, Clement. Sorry, I will change that next time. Yeah, I happen to specialize in an AI application, and I know everybody has already said a lot of good things, great things right now about AI, but I just wanted to add right now, I think the selling product right now in the AI system is the AI agents currently. With the AI agent, the new system that is coming out, you can actually, I don't know, a lot of us talk about keep asking questions if AI is going to take our jobs and so on and so forth. The truth of the matter is that I cannot say yes or no to that. But I can tell you that with the current AI agent that is being developed right now, is going to make our job a lot more easier. Put yourself in a situation where maybe a job that 5 people used to do in a company, suddenly 1 person can do that job with the use of AI agents. With the AI agents, can use it for customer service. We talk about scaling our business or expanding our businesses. With the customer service growth, with AI, addition of AI, using AI agents tools, it can easily use it to scale. Then also follow with the personal AI. And that one is more like the robotic, which you use in maybe 3 years from now will be what they're going to be using in the manufacturing industry to actually help in the manufacturing sector. So there's a whole lot that I can talk about in the current AI agent that is coming out for healthcare, for finances, and for even delivery robots. Those are the things that are coming out. Sorry.
Let's keep. This is sort of an experimental session here, so I'm getting all the inputs, and then I want to sort of.
Yeah, I just wanted to stop there.
Sure.
I'm stopping there. Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Michael?
So I look at AI from a different perspective than I think most of the people in this session.
You usually do, Michael. You usually have your unique.
My background is cybersecurity, and so I look at how do you attack AI? How do you defend AI? And just this week, I was reading a research study, where people publishing for peer-reviewed journals were inserting secret prompts. I'm doing air quotes around secret prompts, white on white text, trying to get good reviews because reviewers for various journals were relying on AI in doing their reviews. And so, people should take things with, I want to say a grain of salt, but maybe a pound of salt, because in the race to deploy AI, people are not considering security implications of what they're doing, both for the AI itself and the results that they're depending on from the AI. So that's my comment.
Bill, you're back. Let's let Anita speak. She hasn't spoken yet.
Please.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, education is my field. So I take the lens of education, training, and professional development when I think about AI. And I think right now we are confounded by it. We're not sufficiently training young people to analyze the implications, and the ethical implications are very large, which I would kind of echo off of what Michael just said.
Yeah. So absolutely. Yeah, no, I wanted to go back and address Aaron's question, because the answer is that productivity gains can be tremendous when properly applied. And some of the customers of some of the firms, that are portfolio companies, I'm not trying to do an advertisement, but it's just fascinating to watch the customers themselves who utilize these tools. And the more rudimentary the industry, the more massive the gains are. So you take a look at even construction as an example. There's one company that goes through and has developed a tool to analyze all the contract documents and put contingencies in terms of like what you have to do based on what the contract says you have to do on iPads, and that has enabled the customers, i.e. the builders, to be able to eliminate a tremendous amount of outside counsel work, which previously, when they had a situation come up, they would literally have to go back, find the outside counsel, pose the question to them. Counsel would have to find the right associate to address it, and it just feeds back. Now it's literally, because of the way that the AI has been able to analyze the construction documents, it's all those contingencies are on an iPad, and so you just use real language to do the query, and you've got your answer in a few minutes. The other thing is computer vision coupled with AI as well. Again, in the construction industry, you've got security cameras that are able to have this AI software just loaded in as an add-on to them. And what they do is they constantly scour the work site. How much materials are on the site? Is it the right materials? Is the way that the construction is progressing according to spec and all that?
Hey, Bill.
All that's done. So it's huge productivity gains.
You're like the Energizer Bunny AI. You got like 20 more, and then there's this and there's that. So, but hold your fire a little bit. Let Tammy, which is great. I now.
He has to come to Newport now.
He has to come. We have boats for you. So Tammy, go for it.
Hello. So I just want to build on something that Michael and Anita both said. I mean, he was talking about cybersecurity and she was talking about teaching, but it would be great to have some deep dive discussion on just the GPTs and one of my biggest concerns, it was my concern years ago with Google when people thought that they were going to a neutral source. So like if I'm pro-life and I want to understand pro-choice, or pro-choice and I want to understand pro-life, I think I'm going to a source that will explain stuff to me, but it really algorithmically gives me my world. And we see that with half the US being only thinking what Fox says is the truth and half thinking only MSNBC, CBS are the truth. All the GPTs are feeding you your world. And I've been training mine to never use the word perfect or excellent when it gives me feedback, because I find it such an annoying bubble. There was just an article a week or two ago, a guy who got divorced from his wife of a very long time because he felt like his AI understood him better, and is having, so kind of like her, but in real life, it's starting to happen more and more. And I see this bubble where people think that even in investment, right? So I go to my AI and I train it what I think I'm looking for. So because I've heard some article from someone smart, like in this group, that was on whatever my news of choice is, and I'm like, I can do that. And I see AI is taking a lot of people down really bad holes where it's feeding them what they want to see. So I just think that there's some discussion on what are the risks in that, and what can we do, or what should be done society-wise to help people understand the limitations of it feeding you what, not even hallucinating, feeding you your world. That's all.
It's sort of doing what social media does on extra steroids.
Yeah, but it's targeted just to you, like you feel like it gets you.
Oh yeah, but social media doesn't get me, but my AI therapist does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Anyone else for sort of fitted? Belinda, you're new. If you introduce yourself, if you don't mind, Belinda. And then Lubna.
Hi everyone. My name is Belinda. I'm a VC with Tonswa Capital. I think going back to the initial question, because we invest in industrial deep tech startups. So we have a different perspective compared to a lot of VCs out there that are sort of like hyped and chasing the AI trend. So when you look at it from a business perspective, especially using the case of Palantir, for example, you know, they've been in existence for over a decade. So they've got all of this data from governments, from corporations. And so when you layer in within a closed environment, and then you layer in AI, I think that's really where they're able to now scale all of the information surrounding the decision intelligence. And I think it's what will make them valuable as a company move now and into the future. But what I see with a lot of AI startups is that they don't have over a decade of data. Even if they're trying to sell to customers, the value proposition doesn't match what they're able to deliver. So, for example, in biotech, I've been seeing a lot of AI-enabled biopsy type of companies, and I think it makes sense. But then when you ask them, okay, what is the database of biopsy tissue that you're using to come up with your analysis, a lot of them don't even have access to that. And so those are the things that I sort of struggle with, and I want to take a contrarian view when it comes to investing in AI, especially decision intelligence, that is hyped versus what is real. So I guess just tying it back to the roundtable conversation.
Can I ask you, Belinda, and welcome to 361, your first hour with us. How do you use AI to lean on your trusted network in any way? I mean, not just like
not just what? Sorry?
Sorry, we're having drilling in our building. Not just like talking to your AIs, but do you use it to sort of try to collaborate with your network at all? Like your trusted people, instead of making phone calls and asking their opinions or doing a Google poll, are you able to collaborate with AI?
Yes, we do a lot of collaboration with AI, especially when it comes to investment reviews. We do that. We actually have that secured also as well. So we don't really use the open chat GPT platforms, on the personal side. So we do a lot of collaboration and analysis using AI.
Come back to that. Lubna, you've been chomping at the bit to speak.
Yeah, but I don't know what to react to now.
I know. I thought we were going to see you in person, but we'll see you in Newport. You muted yourself. Did you self-mute? You don't want to talk?
No, I do. I want to talk.
Oh, sorry. You're on two screens. Yeah, okay. Carry on.
I am on two screens. It was echoing in my head because I have my headset on my phone. Anyway, so I'm not sure which one to respond to first. Decision intelligence, it's been around for a long time. My earlier career, I did decision support systems like that accelerated from detection of frauds to use of the phone system for the back then for Verizon, I think, or New York Telephone. We through automation, which is what we're talking about here, and some applied intelligence like decision support logic, we were able to take it down from 5 to 7 days, because it had to be printed and mailed and distributed, to dynamically allocating to business units and to agents, and doing the assessment, turning into a visual and giving them, here's what the system thinks, this is what you can do, what would you like to do? Snip, call, and simplified. So that's a high productivity. But this is decision support, it's automation.
1 second, Julie's gonna mute her.
Sorry.
Okay.
So
You're good.
so that's different than necessarily the chats and more concerning in terms of security. There's a lot of concerns about security, the physical security of the data centers or the processors. There's so many issues, but also more interestingly, I call it food poisoning of AI, and that's when misinformation is being integrated or contaminating the food source, which is the internet and the data files that it's feeding on, or the labeling that so it's when we customize a particular AI, for example, like, which sunk my heart when I heard about OpenAI and offering custom chat GPT, so custom LLMs to particular countries. Now if you step back from the short term, where are we going to make quick money, and the long-term impact on our society, ourselves, and etc., and all the things that we would be thinking about if we were thinking outside of our small little silo focus of immediate returns, we would see that we could be redirecting nations. We could be it's social engineering. It can be. I'm not saying it is. So we need to think about the risks. So I'll stop. I see hands.
Using your knowledge, you've given a lot of food for thought. Everybody has. You've got to figure out some interesting, deep dives to learn, but where we.
So, but I just will add that we are doing, there's a lot of work that is being done, and I would love to have any of you, and then all of you to join some of these activities, and they don't cost you a penny. And that's involving in standards, which will ultimately, hopefully, influence the right kind of policy. But if the right people don't get involved in the standards and creation and in the discussions around what would be best practices and how to create transparency or explainability or accessibility, then we're only the ones to blame, because then the ones who have interest in controlling it in the way, and even those who have interest in controlling it in a certain way, don't see when we've taught our children, and AI is one of our children, our values, except that this one particular child, this AI child, is a super child. And we have already exceeded our own capacity. I mean, it'll only grow up.
You sound like the guy.
Well, that's why you connected us in the first place. But I think the Kai says it's a tween. I think it's in its formative years. I think this is the most critical time. Thank you.
JP, weigh in.
Yeah.
What's St. Louis perspective on this?
It's pretty much the same as everybody else's. It's God. I wish I had been in New York this week. This would have been fun. I was in New York last week talking about AI across a number of different things, and I pretty much came to the same conclusion that Belinda came with. Is Look, the entire thing is entirely driven by available data and what I've been learning to call analysis ready data. And what is good, what is dirty, what is just messed up. Yeah, the key to the success of all of it is just sheer amounts of data sets that are you reach an impossible level of expectations because you start looking at what's publicly available, and then the hundreds of billions worth of private data that you're never going to get access to. So it's the argument I constantly have with all the startups that I talk to is, I know there is endless amounts of proprietary data that you don't have and so I can't effectively make a decision because I know your data is already flawed. So like, how much better are you than Gartner or the Wall Street Journal? Because I can guarantee you I've got better information than you have, or that you can get in most cases. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Like you could buy Gartner, right? You could buy the Wall Street. Yeah. Your AI could have access to it.
Yeah.
Question: where do you have your proprietary edges?
That's the trick, is how do you combine the proprietary data with the public data and see if you can come up with something. And now we run into what everybody said. You've got a security issue, and who's going to let that proprietary data mix with public stuff? I just had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a chief procurement officer of a very big company, and there's terms in the new SAP implementation contract that is specifically AI related, and they're essentially just taking the company data and utilizing it for their purposes. And that was a hard no by the CPO. It's like, sorry, take all of these clauses out. We're not doing that. So it's complicated. No, there's no answer here. There's only specific answers for specific use cases, not a global AI. It's just impossible to sort out all of it. But we continue to only look at things that we like, that solve a real problem in a niche space that is really effective.
Let me pause you and everyone for a second. We have a real world problem in this room, which is and you may be all eating off camera, but we're not eating and we're on camera. And I need to put some food in. I promise food. So there's a sandwich place with wraps. There's chicken. There's vegetarian. I'm going to give a piece of paper. I wish I had an AI for that.
You do. Just speak into ChatGPT.
The technology exists, man. Just go to ChatGPT. Order me a sandwich.
This is 2025. Just tell me what you want. I'm going to get salad and a wrap. Tell me what you want in your wrap. All right, Jeff, and then I don't know who Jukka is. I'm going to tie this all back together at the end here, but right now I'm just getting all the inputs. But Jeff had his hand up first.
Hey, thanks, Mark. I was just going to mention quickly, so I'm on camera. To me, I think what JP was saying a little bit is, for all these applications right now, I think it's underplayed how important, having your data set and being able to develop a data set further over time for whatever application, whatever problem you're trying to solve, is really where the kind of value is going to be in the long term. Because, kind of frontier models, I think, will come and go, and we're kind of caught up in the moment of the frontier model at the moment. Whereas if you can create a dynamic database, if you will, for your particular solution, that's kind of where the power is going to be. And my sense is that's where the evolution is going to be over the next couple of years. Just that quick comment.
Yeah. And Jeff, I want you to compare notes with MJ Gottlieb. Remember, MJ's got the AI for those with addictions. Your AI is sort of helping parent kids with mental health issues. I bet you guys
more of mental health, but yeah.
Yes, there's mental health related to addiction too. But I'd be curious how you guys could compare notes. I don't know, Frank, if you're on, if we could, because what Jeff's.
Yeah, maybe you could connect us or something.
I am. Hello.
Yeah, keep taking note. Jeff's got an interesting AI company as well in the mental health space.
I'd love to chat with you about it. We spent about $1.5 million and about 1.5 years or two training our AI which pulls from multiple databases to be compassionate and empathetic and tee up exactly the right thing that someone who's struggling with addiction needs to hear to become to keep on track. And It's called SAM, Sobriety Addiction Mentor. And what's cool about it is that they can talk all night long. We've seen sessions that go like 14 hours. Well, people that are really struggling.
Were you here when Tammy was talking, Frank?
Yeah, yeah.
People getting divorced because the AI they can relate to the AI better than
yeah. I mean,
let's keep it going. Lubna, just 1 second. Jukka, do you want to introduce yourself since I think you're new, possibly?
Yeah. Yes. My name is Jukka. I'm based here in Boston area. I manage a venture arm for a rather large family office here, investing tech companies here in North America, but also some in Europe, especially in Finland, where I'm from. I worked previously. I worked for Nuance Communications, which was an early speech recognition and then linguistic AI company. And a comment to since acquired by Microsoft, it was acquired a few years ago by Microsoft for $19 billion. The point that people were making about the sources of data, where the data comes from and how that filters to the AI decision making, the way how I often illustrate it is with a very simple question. I can ask the same question to you, or I can ask the same question to any AI models, and it shows the limitations. And the question is, how is my mother? All of you understood my question immediately, and none of you know the answer. So the data sets, you don't know if my mom is doing well.
Your mom knows my mom doesn't even know the answer.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't know if my mom is alive or not, or whether she's doing well or not.
Right.
That is the kind of the illustration of what, in essence, is the problem with all of these AI models. So the generic AI models can go only so far. So whoever kind of retains and has access and ability then to utilize the data, they can do something of valuable there. And maybe if your AI model knew my mom, then maybe you could offer me even more valuable things.
Well, I don't think AI should be answering that question necessarily. I think what my mom would say is just make sure the AI makes you more effective so you can come see me more. Then you'll know how I'm doing. Lubna, you want to go back in?
Look, I'm about to take off on a flight. I just want to say one thing. It's Anthony Gordon.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi. No, there was one comment about what AI garners from the user, and I think that needs to be more deeply explored. There's no disclaimer when you feed into any AI that they cannot use your data unequivocally to do anything and everything that they want in the present or the future. And so my simple belief is that all of us, when we share on public AI, we're feeding that beast, which may include proprietary company data, business data, or proprietary ideas that either may or may not be patented, trademark, etc. And that's something that we all have to think about. And ultimately, that's why building one's own proprietary AI to plot, plan, and create one's own responsibility and future, I believe, is critical. And I think that's going to be, there's going to be a big backlash later in this feeding of information, data, whatever we want to call it, and the consequences of that, for the better and the worse. So it can be used productively for the benefit of mankind and the user, but it can also be used destructively and counterproductively. And I think that's something to think about. Over and out. Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a safe flight.
Thank you. That was great.
Coming from you, Jeff?
Yeah. So
Well, look, we wanted this to be a kickoff session or sort of a re-kickoff. So we table different views, what people are thinking, seeing. This has been great. The other great thing is I don't have to take notes. They can sort of sit back.
If I could, I would like to jump to one critical information that was like mentioned by many of us here, by JP or Belinda or other. That's it's all comes down to the data, and to really make it work, like take an internal company's information.
As you talk, can I share my screen?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, I'll just click stop share. So what's to take the internal company's data and then enrich them with external data sources, which must be curated. This is not that possible to connect your internal company's AI in general to the internet and just tell it to make it work. It will not work. So to take all this internal information from application system, databases, emails, all the files that the company has, like everything, ingest it, then enrich it with external curated data to then make AI it possible to work on this, the whole mass of chaotic information. You need to create a blueprint of this business, like how the processes work, what's the business ontology, how the data is connected. This is work, like consulting really work, to create this blueprint for the AI to understand how this company works and how it runs. And then, and only then, it is possible for the AI to really answer questions without hallucinations. And let me be clear, large language models do not answer complicated statistical analysis correctly. If we want to predict the replenishment of stock in our warehouse, large language model will not do this. You need underneath a specific machine learning AIs, deep neural network AIs and other stuff that are governed by mother, like large language model AI that can work on this curated and blueprinted sets of data. So I'm sorry, Belinda, JP, I disagree. The things that you have said there are possible, and I know they are possible because we have done this with customers. Why?
First of all, I love disagreement.
Yeah.
We always violently agree with each other all the time.
I can disagree with it.
Yeah, but the Binder recently on WhatsApp. Yeah. So
let me just do this.
Just one sentence. Security. What companies do, they just separate and create a separate box of AI which is disconnected from other AIs, for instance, and large language models are open sourced, not proprietary from ChatGPT or any Gemini or Claude. It's just different models that are trained and prepared for this specific company. So this is not that you can connect company's data to OpenAI. It's like crazy if someone ever does it. Yeah, this must be totally separated. And then when you have this separated data in separated box, then you can blueprint it, then you can implement AIs on it. So this is the way for enterprise architecture solution to do it. Sorry to disagree.
That's okay. So I think we're in this hybrid moment. We're going to probably move away from the Zoom, and then we'll have lunch and we'll continue this discussion. But I wanted, Yasmin is here, and she's really the architect of something we're partnering on, and you sort of came midway. The gist, we're talking about just how people are using AI, how we as a community want to think of different programming of deep dives, or how we want to learn together. But we also want to use it. We have a use case. That's what we're partnered with to do. Maybe you could sort of add your 2 cents, your observations, introduce yourself.
Sure.
And I'm wondering if I do that and I go get food while you do that.
Like you said, we're gonna make it short, and then we're gonna, because the best conversations are always good.
Yeah.
So hello everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name is Yasmin. I'm the CEO of Clever AI. And it's been really fascinating to hear all the different perspectives in this conversation. I'm very bullish on human-to-human connection through AI. I'm a psychologist and also an engineer, so definitely I have my own preferences. I used to work in a corporate venture capital. I help large enterprises to make decisions. And this is what inspired me to create an AI to basically connect assets with people. But I do want to relate to some of the insights that were I would say, exchanged in this conversation. So if there's three things that I think it's important, I would say, takeaways, in order to understand if AI is a hype or it's real, is three things. First of all, proprietary data. Second is trust and explainability. And the third is what is the use case. So I think Lubna talked a lot about the food poisoning and social engineering. I think is brilliant. And I think that also JP talked a lot about the use case. And let's just take that conversation we had, how we, as a network, together, collectively, creating proprietary data, just right now. And I want you to think about all the conversations you have in every day. What's the ROI? What's the return on a conversation? Is that can be proprietary data that is being created as we speak. And this is what we are building now with Mark. So Mark can then share a bit more later on. What he shows now in the screen is that every conversation we're having, it can be on a certain topic, it can be on a certain asset. We're basically uploading transcript. We started to analyze the risks, the benefits, the different perspectives of people. We even summarize. So the more data sources, both internal and external, are being analyzed into one investment memo, if I would say. So this is number one, the proprietary data. You want to make sure you have access to information your competitors do not have. Now, the second thing that I can really speak a lot about that, I'm just going to say a bit, is trust. How is this community can establish better trust? So obviously some of you know each other, but I've heard so many people with different agendas and different passions like education, cyber, AI, decision intelligence, healthcare. How can we actually identify across people what do you have in common and bring you together faster around deals that maybe you want to buy or you want to sell? So this is why neural networks and network effects can be very helpful to create trust. Explainability is absolutely key. I'm not going to talk too much about that, more in the report. And the third thing is the use case. It's really nice to talk about AI. It's almost like to talk about happiness, right? It's very subjective, but in the end, this is just, I would say, a tool. It's not the main objective. So what is about AI you want to solve? What keeps you up at night? Is it problem of staffing? Is it we need to make decisions, we need to make sure that we increase our chance of success? Is it I want to sell this deal, I want to do biz dev, I want to find the right person? So I really encourage you to think what is the problem that AI can solve and not to use AI just as a buzzword and glorification. I will say one last thing and then I will leave it to you, Mark. I think we overglorify data. Data is great. Data needs to be curated, needs to be proprietary, and needs to be unique. But we do not like to be overwhelmed. I do think that the technologies that really shape the world are the ones that create clarity. And with that, I will finish.
Would it be possible for me to share one thing for 1 minute?
Sure. Just Anita, did you have a question on that or a different question?
Yeah, I mean, if I need to wait till then, I can, no problem. Don't want to interrupt the flow if you're in the flow.
That flow is in flow. Okay, can I try?
Yeah, sure. So I think the human-generated data is pretty much hit the peak, to be very frank, when it comes to already not just the large models, whether it's any kind of foundation models. LLM is one kind. We are already tackling physics models to mathematics models to almost everything. So the moving forward, really, everything that we generate, by and large, are going to be synthetic data sets. So for that, because humans are very finite in how much they can generate and capture the data, and in the modalities in which they actually capture the data. So instead of trying to focus on solving a problem where you're taking all these disparate systems and trying to generate and create something from scratch, you basically forget that entire system and do brand new way of understanding what data in real time dynamically is required for the systems to process whatever is the business outcome or general AI agent outcome. And then the other model is actually generating the data in real time scenario. And there are many, many, many companies, quite a few are venture backed. There are actually some are coming out of stealth, who basically all they provide is that kind of data sets that anyone can buy and train their models. And companies like Goldman Sachs to Bloomberg's, several companies in the Wall Street are using it. Bridgewater is actually building an entire associate, which is an AI model that will basically perform like another analyst. That's a Harvard-educated grad that you're bringing on board. Agriculture and physical AI is happening in a pretty significant way where, again, the idea is to where you really, really, really think a human is needed. But if it's not, very quickly you're building underlying systems that can slowly but steadily take those chunks of the work that humans are performing and migrating entirely to the AI native or AI first modality. So I just want to kind of put that out there. I know
you guys keep putting major things out there, like, and I'm trying to get us to lunch.
So Mark, please, I would like just to.
No, not to belittle anything from that. Thank you, everyone. Those are all good things we need to follow up on.
So I just wanted to share in real life how this decision making looks like, okay? Because I follow up on what Yasmin has said. It must be simple. So this is like real use case or real customer, just anonymized. So the AI feeds the information that is worthwhile for the business owner or the manager in his main site. When the person or the owner of the business needs to dive deeper, he has this chat where he can just work through the information and analyze the use cases in detail. But when really what's really important is that AI can analyze huge amounts of data and provide something simple like proactive insights. So this is the way to simplify. This is what Yasmin mentioned, like how to provide information in a simple and clear way, and only the information that is really valid for the user and for this company to make good business decisions. So that's what I just wanted to share for a moment. That there is like confirmation that it can be done, and someone is quiet, there are no more Palantirs, because it's really difficult to create this type of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, everyone. I don't even know what to call this. It's like a new chapter 1 kickoff call. 2025, July 13th. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. And we will follow up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My AI thanks you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
All of my AIs, thank you.